been flowing this week. What can you tell us about Ravens receiver Rashod Bateman getting paid?
So this is fascinating. What led to his contract extension was that he was almost traded during this offseason because he went to the Ravens, wanted a new deal. They essentially said no, but they gave him permission to seek a trade. So he went out on the open market, talked to teams, and I was told there were several involved or had interest. Dallas Cowboys, New England Patriots, Green Bay Packers. So he saw he had a market.
Yeah.
The Ravens saw that and said, okay, we'll just pay you instead. We won't trade you.
Hey, that is a nice step up from a did not report allocation at training camp a couple years ago for Bateman. But there's good reason the Ravens made this decision yesterday. Looking at some of these numbers, Bateman's a big play threat. Yeah. Last year ranked 3rd in yards per reception. Also, he finds the end zone. 22% of his catches went for 6 last season. That's the 2nd highest mark amongst wide receivers. Here's Bateman on his new deal.
I feel like I finally did something on the field that was, impressive and something that you can, respect and stand on. Before that, it was a little bit shocking. I had some ups and downs here and there, so, to be able to be here now, it feels good. If these guys are pleased with, with what I'm doing and, my work ethic and all of that, then I feel like as a team, that's what's important to me. So I'm happy to be here, blessed and fortunate. So keep chasing the Super Bowl.
I would be smiling too with that ink getting dry in that deal. I mean, it's easy to forget how close Baltimore came to forcing OT in Buffalo in the divisional round. How important was it for the Ravens to lock up Bateman long-term like they did?
I think this was a really smart, really team-friendly deal, honestly, because while Rashod Bateman got off to a slow start at the beginning of his career, largely due to health reasons, last year he really emerged as an important role player, and that role is distinct. Zay Flowers is the #1 receiver in this offense, but he is not a traditional X receiver. That's Bateman. In fact, he had 32 targets as an isolated receiver. No other Raven had more than 5. You highlighted the fact that he was 3rd league-wide in yards per catch. He won on go balls, corners, in the end zone, big plays, contested catch ability. So he brings an element to this Ravens offense they're not getting anywhere else and complements the other players, the other skilled players quite well.
And oh, by the way, they outrushed opponents 17 times in 17 games.
Yeah, I love this move because it is team-friendly. When you look at that deal, I think you want to be able to continue. Because sometimes when you're trying to set up, I guess, like a team-friendly cap type situation, it's not uncommon for you to move on from a player like a Bateman and replace him with someone else. So you're like, oh, we'll get similar production, but then you lose that connection, that continuity that a receiver has with their quarterback. So not only do you get a team-friendly deal, but it seems like both parties are like legitimately happy and content, and you get that continuity. And what I loved with from Bateman last season was that I think he was so great with Lamar, really off the script. Once the play broke down, I think Bateman did an awesome job, and it really did feel like every time he caught the ball, it was for a touchdown. It was in the end zone. But I mean, right here, right, this was the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills. 4 receptions, 5 targets, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, 42 yard for his long. I mean, like, he stepped up. He was there. He was a playmaker. He was making things happen. And I mean, this is the year that you really want as much continuity as possible, because it just feels like if they can, and they were in the second half of the season, but getting their defense really back on track, how you know it to be, the true Baltimore Ravens defense, and you have now the continuity with your receivers, tight ends, receivers, however you want to define it, and then obviously with Derrick Henry and of course obviously Lamar, having that continuity, not having to hit the refresh button, not having to have this kind of whole new thing with coaching and players, and just really being able to truly build off of the season before. Not just build off of like, we've had some success, now we're going to tinker. More like, no, this is where we're at. Now all collectively, we can take this step forward together. It's like, that's what I'm really looking for. I mean, it's just not hard to imagine that if Zay Flowers was playing in the playoffs, you beat the Buffalo Bills. It's a whole nother beast of a weapon to work with. It's like that doesn't feel like too much of a stretch to me, quite frankly. I'm not saying that because they wasn't there, that's why they lost. I'm not going as far as to say that either, but it's just not hard to imagine. Like, yeah, you're missing your number one wide receiver. It's gonna impact you a little bit. And especially when you see how close the score was. You know, if the score was a little bit further apart, then I would say, all right, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? But like, they were obviously right there. And so again, sometimes you see little things like all too often you see a player like a Bateman just kind of leave, sign somewhere else. He's with Tennessee Titans now, or something, you know, something random like that. And or they overpay, right? You find yourself in a situation where now you just paid him like 60 million or something, and it's like, all right, did you need to do that? Did you overpay? Now you're kind of a little bit backed in the corner. Like, that's just not what happened. This was just, to me, this was literally the perfect scenario. And in a lot of ways, I feel as though what the Ravens are having right now is a really awesome offseason. Really, really, really awesome offseason. You look around the league, it feels like, you know, it always feels like often in the offseason, like everyone's getting a little bit better. But the great thing about the Ravens is that I feel as though they so significantly underperformed last year for who they were as a team. And I think they were finally kind of getting things going, and they were a little inconsistent, and the penalties were driving me absolutely insane. Every time I took notes of the games, I just kept writing the number of penalties and just circling it to be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's coaching. You know, that's coaching and execution. And it's like, you clean that up. And like I've said now in a lot of my Baltimore Ravens videos, Tom Brady kept saying this is a sleeping giant, and my whole thing is like, well, this team should have never been asleep. And I don't think coming into this season, they're going to be asleep, and there's nothing for them to figure out. There's nothing for them to figure out. And again, continuity. When you were a sleeping giant and you underperformed, having continuity with someone even like a player like Bateman goes such a long way, because it very much feels like we got the same squad, we got the same group of guys, we know who we are, we know what we need to do, we're ready to actually build off rather than have to try to figure out how do we invite other people, have new voices with coaching players, you know, how to fit. Like, they had to do a little bit. They had to figure out, what do we do with Derrick Henry? How do we make this work? Like, they had to figure some stuff out. They don't need to do that really this season. Yeah, obviously you're going to have some new pieces, of course, but like the foundation, the core, the team, the players that are really going to lead you to the promised land, they're all right there. And yeah, I feel like I'm higher on the Baltimore Ravens now than I've been in a very, very long time. Probably, if I had to guess, probably the highest that I've had, the strongest feelings I've had about the Ravens than I've had throughout Lamar's entire career, quite frankly. And that's why it really does feel like it's all in or nothing. It's just like, and to be fair, you know, I always feel like obligated to say this. I feel very similarly to the Buffalo Bills, but I still feel that the Ravens have the better team. And so, it just feels like, man, if you can't win the Super Bowl this coming year, right? If you can't even just get to the Super Bowl this coming year, I'm just like, I just don't know what to do. It's just like, I just waved the white flag at that point, and I'm just like, I got no comments, man. I just don't know what to say. Because I think this team is just, you know, we talk about various stacked teams and this, they had the most all pros, most pro bowlers. Like the Ravens are great. They got great dudes here. They got an awesome team. And I think there's always some question marks at coaching, which I've called out plenty, and I'm just not going to do that here right now. But it's just like, they're just right there. They have such a dynamic and physical team. If they can just be better prepared, button up the execution, stay healthy, just like, how are you going to beat this team? And when you're able to get someone who's been as great as Bateman, I mean, I think sometimes we just get lost in the sauce too much, where we're just like, in order to be great, you need to have 20 touchdowns and 2,000 receiving yards. And it's like, that's not always the case. And just like, for quarterbacks, it's not just about how many touchdown passes you have and what's your completion percentage. Like, it's a lot of other things. It's the same thing for receivers, and also the structure of how this offense is run. Obviously very run heavy and all of that. And so someone like a Bateman on many other teams could be like a 1,400 12 touchdown type player. But because of having Mark Andrews, likely Zay, Lamar, just his own weapon himself, Derrick Henry, it gets distributed a little bit more. And so someone like him can kind of go under the radar a lot more than I think than people realize. So to me, in a lot of ways, we could say this is a team-friendly deal, but it also, I think it's also appropriate to say, like, it's a steal in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know a single team that wouldn't be happy to have someone like Bateman on their team for $36 million, combined with the continuity of like already being on your team and obviously working very well the year before. So it's a home run to me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Rashod Bateman and the Baltimore Ravens? Being happy, team-friendly deal. Everyone's all happy. What do you think about the Ravens moving forward this coming season? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.